This is the Fitchburg Historical Commission. This is December 16th. This is a hybrid meeting. And on our agenda, we have the first two items are approval of meeting minutes. I would like to propose to the commission that we alter the sequence of the agenda, and we move to item number 3, which is the Ivor Johnson Mill Complex floodplain historical building situation. So I make that proposal. Everybody in favor of that? Okay, so let's move forward. If I could preface this, it's the Ivor Johnson Mills floodplain historic exemption. And I believe the email from our building commissioner saying this to the architect of the team, saying the building must still be considered historic after the renovation to comply with the exemption of floodplain compliance. I think if the Fitchburg Historical Commission still consider the building or buildings historic, then you are okay. So that was sent on to us. We've added it to the agenda. So if the team would like to present, as we're being recorded, if you would state your name and your affiliation with the project and make kind of a brief explanation of what's proceeding with your project or the status of your project. So
great, Keith. Rich Darche here. I'm one of the original partners of the IVJ group. Along with me, Aldo Mezzafaro and Norm Garapi and my son Matthew. There's the four of us directly from IVJ group. And then representing our architectural team, the principal John Cavaney, and then Doug Kelleher from Epsilon Associates, who's helped us work through the historic credit application. First of all, I want to thank you, Keith, and the rest of the committee members to giving us a few minutes to talk to you today. We're very excited about this project, and just a quick overview. I think you're all very familiar with it. We've been working on this for about three and a half years since Al and I first decided this is an interesting project, and we thought it would be wonderful for the town of Fitchburg. And it would be a good start to renovating the western end of town. So with that said, we had some issues over the last couple of years that we've sorted out completely. The parking was one issue that we had where we were really coming up a little bit short as far as the property goes and having enough parking spaces to have the right number for the town requirements. And the town lowered the requirements for 1 and 2 bedrooms units, and we decided to change our mix, increase the size. So with that said, the footprint that we have in Fitchburg on River Street gives us ample parking space for a total of 61 units is our plan. These units are mixed between 1 and 2 bedroom. We did change from our original plan of having mixed use, because in the meetings that we had with the town said we really didn't need mixed use. There's a lot of open vacant buildings in town that could support, a retail and a restaurant establishments. And so we decided to focus completely on residential market rate apartments. With that said, the other big challenge that we were looking at was the floodplain. And in the original FEMA maps that we're dealing with that are currently, in place, our property and the buildings fall, below the BFE. We have been able to take a look at the latest FEMA and geological survey maps that are out, I guess, for comment in the last couple of months. I think they came out in mid-October. And what we found is the former BFE range was 473, almost 474 feet. The new range is 470.3 to 471.3. all of our buildings are above the revised BFE. Our first building is 471.3, second one 471.3, and the third one is 473.1. We realize that is not going to be finalized for probably another year or two. And so our challenge is we want to try to move forward on the project, but obviously we need the blessing from the historical committee, our commission, to work with us and the building department here to help us work through the permitting. So with us today, John Cavaney has got all of the drawings that we can put up on the screen to review with you. And Doug from Epsilon is here as well, if there's any questions that are specifically tied to the historic application that we put in. But our request is for some help from your side for an exemption.
Okay, I think I distributed these drawings to our commission members when you sent them to me. Megan, did you have time to take a look at those, or are you familiar with them?
I did not. I apologize. I'm trying to go back in my emails to look at them right now.
Maybe John could put them up. John could put them up on the
That'd be
screen. We
great,
could
yeah.
share.
Okay, let's do that.
John, can you do that?
Okay, can you guys see this?
Yes.
Yep.
So this package right here, this is the architectural portion of what we had submitted for the historic tax credit submission. And as Rich had mentioned, we're in the process of that, and the IVJ group is actually in the process of receiving tax credits. Rich, maybe you could speak to how many rounds have we gone through already?
Yeah, I'm sorry. In the overview, we've accumulated so far 1.1 million. And I believe Doug might know better than I do it. That's 4 rounds, I think, Doug?
Actually, that was over 5 rounds of allocations.
Right. And we're in for the January meeting, I believe, coming up in a few weeks.
Correct.
Great. So this package here, I mean, it's 23 sheets. It really just goes through all the details of the renovations we're planning. I think I can give a little bit of an overview, and let me go to this page with our renderings, just to give you an idea of, I guess, the general renovations that we're planning. But the overall goal here is to basically bring these buildings back to their former glory. I think in terms of exterior repairs, this includes new windows throughout, aluminum windows with the similar sight lines as existing, all approved by the state and federal historic boards. There's slate roofing out there right now, so what we're proposing is a composite slate roof on all 3 buildings. Repointing of all bricks, significant repairs of masonry where there is deterioration. This is specifically, if you look at this floor plan or the site plan, I guess just backing out a little bit, there's 3 buildings out there right now, 89, 90, and 91 River Street. So if River Street is planned south right here, you have the 3 buildings that go back. There actually used to be a 1-story, call it, addition to the buildings that was demolished years back in this northwest corner. What we're proposing within that same general footprint, a new addition, and that's gonna accommodate basically all of the general amenities. So that will be the main entrance to the building. It will include the lobby, workout room, little cafe area, all the general building amenities, but that will be the main entrance. And it will actually connect these back 2 buildings, and then the front building will be kind of on its own, so that the entrance and exit will be separate. If you look at these renderings, and just keep in mind, these are very conceptual, but they were developed in coordination with our historic tax credit submission. You'll see right here, this is that main entrance that I was talking about, and where the former addition to the buildings was that was demolished. So we're rebuilding in its general footprint. Our goal here was complementing the existing form while still differentiating it. So similar scale and representation of windows and similar materials, but I think as part of this next process, we might look at a different texture or color with the bricks, just to give it enough differentiation so it's not an exact replica of what was there, but something that complements the existing and shows that it's new. Profile, clean roof line, all that. So I think that gives a general idea of the exterior improvements, which is basically just bringing the building back to its historic nature and improving what's there. In terms of the interior, all existing structures to remain in place as it exists generally. Obviously, deteriorated structure we're going to be replacing, but the general structural components will be staying as is. The interior layout basically is meant to complement this existing structure where possible, where a lot of these rooms will have exposed columns that are visible, and we're really working around all of these existing columns. Exposed masonry where appropriate, so that's on the exterior walls, on the shear walls, even interior finishes to be similar in scale and pattern to what was there before. So the flooring, while it might be an LVT, the goal is to make it in a similar scale and pattern to what the wood plank that was there before. We're reusing existing stair openings. But yeah, I think that gives a general overview of our proposed renovations, but I would definitely open it up for any questions regarding that.
Excuse me, this is Aldo Mazzaferro. My only addition would be that we also plan to maintain the historic character through decorations, kind of exposing the history of the building, where it was manufacturer of bicycles, for example, with the Ivor Johnson Company. We'll probably have plaques around that will, denote the historic nature of the building. And I think you should feel very comfortable that we're going to certainly maintain the historic nature. And we've also, been, kind of approved and almost, in a preliminary way accepted with the National Register. Just wanted to add that. Thanks.
There wasn't, is it true originally the buildings were actually a furniture company?
Yes, the Haywood Manufacturing Company was a chair manufacturer who eventually moved to Gardner. The way I understand it, he was the builder of the buildings in 1870, was the Haywood Company, operated, I think, 10 years there roughly, and then sold the buildings to Ivor Johnson in the 1880s. Ivor Johnson moved in and began manufacturing bicycles, guns, and I think operated in that building until about the 1960s. And that
correct. I think it, since the kind of as a suggestion, as the original building use was for the Haywood Furniture Company, that in your historic plaques and kind of recognition, it would be, as far as the heritage of the city is concerned, to obviously include that also. I think the Ivor Johnson bicycles and firearms are, the kind of been there the longest and have kind of the biggest impact on employment and stuff in the city, but the original manufacturing and which created the building outlines and footprints and so forth might be interesting. I believe the smokestack is down already before you took over, or is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and it was probably back in that corner where you're doing the new addition to it.
Yeah, it was right back there in the northwest corner.
Okay, so there's, I'm not going to put that back up. So, okay.
No.
Is there, I know the building to the right of this complex, which used to be the, I believe the main office and storage, the mansard roof building, the two-story building on, right there, is that is not part of your project. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's not part of our project.
Okay. And there's some buildings behind that, a fourth row of buildings.
Yeah, there's a fourth large building operated by Kelly Wood Products, and at this time that's not a part of our project as well. Although in the past we've had discussions with them about purchasing their real estate and adding it into the project, but at this point, we have no intention of doing that in the near term.
Okay.
And the other buildings are owned separately by another party. We've had no discussions with them about any combinations.
Okay. I see there's a new date on these drawings, John, that shows the parking in between these. I'm not sure it was on the set that you had sent us. Is that correct? I
Yeah.
think those were outside spaces for the apartments, I believe, originally.
Where was that, Keith?
I think the set of drawings that were forwarded to us a few weeks ago may or may not have had this parking layout in those. Not that it makes any difference on our determination, but if you could send us an updated copy of the status, this set, that would be great also.
Yeah, we can send you this. This right here, and I apologize for not clarifying this. This is the most updated, or call it blocking diagram for the architecturals, and then overlaid on the latest site plan from Whitman and Bigham.
Yeah, I might be incorrect on that. It's just my thought on it. So you are as far as your pointing of the brick and repair of repointing and repair of brick, what type of guidelines are, that's kind of the major feature besides the windows and roof. What kind of guidelines are you using to retain the historic quality of the building?
Well, I guess we haven't really exactly gotten into that yet, but the intent would be to develop a pretty in-depth specification between ourselves and then Epsilon Associates on the brickwork here, and and really making sure that it's bringing it back, because I completely agree that is a major part, and especially it's where something can go bad if we don't have the right person doing it or the right specification.
And Keith, we recently interviewed with the two final candidates, construction teams that we're looking at for the project, and both of those firms have had a tremendous amount of experience with mill building renovation. So that's definitely something that we'll be focused on for sure. Okay.
I would maybe like to condition our approval that I'm suggesting this to the other members, that we condition it that the specifications for all of the exterior preservation and renovation work be following the National Park Service preservation briefs, which are a detailed collection of best practices for restoring and the preservation of historic buildings. And this goes with brickwork, roofing, et cetera. Particularly repointing and the type of mortar that's used for repointing. Back in the mid to late 19th century, mortar mixes were much different than our more common high-strength mortar mixes that are used today. And when we repoint with high-strength mortar, it does not expand and contract like the old mortar that's back inside of the joint. And quite often that brickwork will work its way, actually fall off of the building if it doesn't have the correct mortar mixes in those. Mm-hmm. So doing, and I believe your consultant, Epsilon, is probably quite familiar with this, that mortar samples from the existing mortar that's kind of deep in the wall are analyzed, and the proper amounts of lime and not too much Portland type of cement that makes it very high strength. That those proportions, the type of aggregate, the coloration and so forth, make for good masonry restorations. And this complex is just about all masonry, and obviously beautiful work, which attracted you to this project, and it's stately features. So, so the preservation briefs that are part of the National Park Service, and I'm sure that Mass Historical is probably saying similar types of things, but that's just to be sure that as you develop your final specifications and your oversight as the developers and your architect as the project goes forward, we're relying on your attention to detail, and particularly using the preservation briefs as a guide for when you're preserving older types of buildings. So there's a lot of knowledge in those briefs that can be, can help you prepare the specs and processes that you pass on to your constructor as they move forward, and inspecting and making sure that you have a good follow through with that.
Keith, just on to interject for a second, it's Rich again. We did have some discussions with the National Park Service, I know, on the original application. And as I think you know, we have a slate roof on all three buildings here that's in pretty bad disrepair. So the word that we got back is, and we will stick to either real slate or a simulated slate roof. And we've been through that already as far as what simulated slate roofs would be acceptable. So our goal is absolutely to bring these three buildings back to their original grandeur, and we will certainly work closely with our team to make sure that happens.
Terrific. That's great. Thank you. So I think I'm suggesting to the commission that our approval is that at this point in time, and with the direction that you're proceeding with this, that we would feel it as you're proceeding with it, it would be exempt if you completed a project this way from it would maintain its historical qualities and then exempt you from the floodplain requirements as they are today anyhow.
Fantastic.
I guess I'm making that as a motion to the other members. And if you agree, I could create a letter that I will send to the building commissioner and copy John and perhaps the rest of you, or at least John, and you can share it with the rest of your team.
I just add, I'm actually wearing two hats here. One is member of the Historical Commission, and as a member of the Historical Commission, I agree completely. And I'm really thrilled that you're doing something with those buildings, because I often walk my dog down there, and it's just, heartbreaking that these buildings are falling apart. And now, yes, something can finally be done. Okay, so I completely approve of the motion. I might even second it if I could, as a member of the Historical Commission. But as a resident of Fitchburg, I can't help suggest that you might want to reconsider the Kelly Wood Products, where it's located, if at all. Why? Because of the noise factor. It gets quite noisy. They're great, they're making manufacturing skids and all sorts of things. Great for them. But I'm thinking in terms of residents, especially the third building back. Yeah. They're going to be right across from Kelly Wood Products. It does get quite noisy there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Aldo, you can probably chime in better than me, but we've had some very good discussions with Mike Kelly and him and his brother. Their plan was to retire in April of this year, at least the older brother. And we were pretty close on negotiations to buy their property, but where we got hung up was on the environmental issue. And you probably don't know, but we had to spend a considerable sum here to clean up the site environmentally. And we ran into a lot more adversity and issues than we thought we were going to run into. In any case, we clean, we have no use limitations. We're ready to go. The stipulation that we couldn't get past with the Kelly group is they wanted us to, our purchase price to be, we take responsibility for the environmental. And we didn't want to stick our neck out for another, not knowing where we stood on the environmental. So our discussions, we had some fruitful ones, and they are interested in doing something with us. We visualize beautiful landscaping to the river, maybe another building for some more apartments, but we can see a really nice symmetry with the Kelly property as part of ours. And as I think Aldo mentioned up front here, that's our goal. And the point you bring up is really, really significant about the noise factor and the view. The folks that are in the last building are not going to have the best view out their windows. So we're definitely cognizant of that, and we think there's going to be some changes from the Kelly side here, and when we do put something together with them, in the not too distant future. But right now, we're at a standstill with them.
And not to mention trucks and other forklifts and other things that are part of their business, part of their manufacturing. So you don't want people walking out and out their back door and encountering that. So yes, access, that was the other consideration, access to the Nashua River, because that is a beautiful area of the Nashua River, and if residents can get access to it, that would be great. Okay, so good. I'm glad you're thinking. And
we were also discussing with the mayor a little bit about repairing that walking bridge that's back there, but that's another discussion. It would be very nice to pull together. But I think once it starts here, once we get this project completed, and there's going to be some big changes moving from west to east that we're really excited about. We think the whole area is going to change dramatically.
I'm doubly thrilled. Okay.
Thank you.
Megan, your thoughts?
Just finishing up my minutes. I think this is fantastic. I'm also the executive director of the Pittsburgh Redevelopment Authority, and we've added this property actually to our updated plan coming out soon, because we know it's very important, and we're wearing both hats. I'm very excited to see some activity happening there. So kudos to all of you, and I support this 100%.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much.
Very good. So I think you have our approval. We wish you, we will send off a kind of our communication of your intentions. And as you're continuing with your contentions, would certainly keep you recognized as a historic building. In light of the floodplain issue that we're kind of talking about here. So, and as the others said, this is great for Pittsburgh, and we applaud your due diligence and your patience in getting this done. I know it's a long process. The financing is a very tough place to go, and you have a good consultant to help you with that. And just kind of a comment, kind of a follow-up on what Don was saying, in the connection to the river. And I think that the spaces between these buildings, they're fairly close, and it's nice to look at a brick wall across the side. I see that there is some courtyard space between buildings 2 and 3, and the parking between 1 and 2. That parking might be, if that could be softened with some trees or something like that, and still get your number of parking spaces. Or I'm not sure if there be children There certainly could be children with 2-bedroom units. If there's any, this is nothing to do with the historic content, I mean, but just, making it a successful place to live. It looks a little barren in that strip of parking between the two spots, but this was not part of our review process here, so just a private comment.
Yeah, you're good point, Keith, but there is a field, open field, green grass, very close between the buildings and Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know who owns that. I tried to find out.
Okay.
That's Boardman, it's Boardman Automotive? You mean?
What's that?
uh,
Yeah, it's that, it's there, there's a chain link fence around it. There's a hole in the fence you can duck through, which my dog and I have done several times. But it's great having that field, and I think it's used for football practice
Okay.
for high school. But I don't know if anything could be done with that field. It would be great if something could be, because that would really help the residents, I think.
Yeah. The mansard roof building that is to the right of this complex, and then the practice field, the green field there. So it's a little bit a different ownership there.
Definitely to your point, though, I think, and this is the next stage of design where through Whitman and Bingham, the civil engineer, they're hiring a landscape architect for this project as well.
Okay.
Residential courtyard that you see between the two buildings, the goal is to really make that an interactive space. Maybe with some outdoor grills and just really make it a nice place to hang out. And it will be in conjunction with this. On the left side, you have the, trying to pull up the rendering, which would show it. Now, this is a very preliminary rendering. I think we're going to have a lot more landscape here. And this is the bottom rendering. But as you're looking back to that, the common space, that new lobby addition, where on the outside, it's the brickwork, but we're imagining on the inside, it's more glass and more modern. So that you can really, it's a really interactive space because that's where we're going to have the cafe. That's where we're going to have a workout area. But definitely to your point, Chairman, that I think the parking between the front two buildings too, I'm sure we can work in some extra landscaping there with trees and whatnot, and throughout the entire property.
Yeah, just kind of a side comment. The new addition entry area there, I would be very careful with that. I think it's going to be hard to replicate it exactly. And just again, a personal thought that maybe even trying not to copy with a different color of brick or something like that to make sure it's different, maybe even a more contemporary piece added on there. Again, this is just a personal opinion, might not be as jarring as something that's kind of close, but doesn't seem quite like it. But that's for all of you to determine. It's not part of our review process here. So.
Yeah, but exactly to that point where I believe we imagine we definitely want it to make it stand out enough so it's not a replication. You don't think it's old, you know it's new, but we want it to complement. So exactly to your point where this might be with a entirely different brick color, it might be with a different brick pattern. I think there's a lot of different things we can do there. So it's not a replication.
I mean, I'm thinking like the entrance to the Louvre.
That would be nice.
There you go. There you go. All right. We've taken a lot of your time. Any other comments,
I
Don?
think Charles wants to say something.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Charles.
I came into the meeting late. Yeah, great presentation from what I was able to see. Keith, did you mention anything about the historic markers that we have? I was thinking that maybe, I know that they're going to do some plaques and things, but I thought it'd be nice to get a marker on there too.
Absolutely. The Historical Commission, this is kind of down the road once you have it, does have historic markers an oval shaped, deep red markers that kind of highlight buildings throughout the city that are of historic quality. So there is, and we do have a marker program that you're welcome to, apply for a marker or and get it attached to your building too. Along with representations for anybody visiting and things. I think your idea of having that, the history of it on the, particularly shown on the inside or maybe exterior signage also.
Yeah, we're
I
trying to
mean-
get our hands on some Ivory Johnson bicycles. They're hard to come by. I think one of the,
There's
Peter
a lot of
Capadagli.
people. Yeah, Peter Capadagli is the Boulder Gallery is a Iver Johnson bicycle aficionado, and with lots and lots and lots of information. He's a collector of the bikes,
Yeah.
and the Historical Society can get you in contact with others that are they've had shows about the Iver Johnson bicycles and maybe firearms also.
excellent. Thank you.
Do you know how to reach Peter Capadagli? Have you spoken with him before?
I think Peter was on, I think he was on one of our meetings because he's a
Planning
gentleman.
board. He's on the
Yeah,
planning.
he's on the
board.
planning.
Yeah,
right.
then he
We
did
spoke to him then.
mention, he's got the lock on the inventory, I think, of the bicycle. So we
That's
do
him.
have Peter's information.
That's
Plus,
him.
a couple of years ago, I attended his presentation at the historical office you guys have on Main Street, right? And
That's
I think
the Historical Society, a different
the society,
organization.
right?
That's the nonprofit. We're kind of a city
Right.
appointed.
Yeah. So he spoke there. He had a very extensive slideshow presentation on the whole history of the Iver Johnson Company and the buildings and everything.
He would be
Oh,
a
yeah.
good resource for maybe even photos of within the factory or the various models and things that could be part of the graphics of your lobby, hallways, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
To
It's a-
kind of make your project distinct from yarn mills and things that are close by.
Yeah.
right.
Great opportunities. Yeah. Thanks, Charles. We have your approval for saying that maintaining historic.
Of course.
Okay, thank you, Charles.
Yeah.
All right, any other comments? And we can let these folks go. And within the next couple of days, I'll email out my written letter to the building commissioner and copy John on this, and you can distribute it from there. Does that sound?
That's fantastic. And we want to thank you all for first of all, giving us the time for the presentation today, but also for all the support. Very, very much appreciated. And you'll be very pleased when in a couple of years, when we're done and we have our opening. It's very exciting.
Great. We look forward to it.
Terrific.
Okay.
Okay, everybody have a nice holiday.
Just one last thing. What do you think your schedule is as far as funding, and when do you anticipate you would be ready to actually roll with this project?
Yeah, that's a good question. Ideally, we'd like to start in late summer of this year with the construction portion of it. The only issue that we have though, Keith, is the HDIP. We're going for the 2022 round of the HDIP tax credits. And that may not be realized, I think, until the middle of the fall for next year. So that may delay us at the absolute latest to the spring of 23. Ideally, the late summer, early fall of 2022, at the outside, the spring of 23. And we're anticipating about 14 months from start to finish.
That's a good aggressive move on that. We look forward to it. Thanks again.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Everybody have a nice holiday.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Next on our agenda,
Hey Keith, I have a quick question.
yes.
How do you get the hand raising thing to stop? I have my hand raised, but I don't know how to unraise it.
I think you go back to the raise hand thing and click on it again.
It
I
says,
click on it again.
what's that?
click on the hand raise again, down at the bottom.
When I move my cursor there, it gives me an option of mute or more, and the more is just renamed, but it doesn't let me do anything with it. Anyway, I'm not raising my hand.
Okay, good.
I'll just give you a holler if I need something.
That sounds good.
Click on, I just did it. Click on raised hand again. Just click on the button. That's it.
But anyway, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Okay. We'll all
Oh,
hold our
I
hand
got
up so you don't feel lonely. There you go. You got
I
it.
figured it out. Thanks, Megan.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, next item on our agenda is item number 4, which is the marked determination of no historical significance for parking lot there. And Ryan Josti is going to present for us.
Absolutely. I'll pull this up on the screen real quick. So just a quick background here. This is the rear parking lot for the MART headquarters over on Water Street. The parking lot is in its current form, as you can see on the screen, just a kind of smattering of pavement that we had over the years through the 90s and early 2000s as we acquired property on the Kerry Street side. The site is expanding in terms of staffing, so we will be upgrading the parking lot to accommodate the additional staff that we have, as well as additional fleet vehicles. Because this is an FTA and MassDOT funded project, we are required to do a significant amount of background and due diligence. So we've had to do wildlife, environmental, soil boring, and ensuring that there is no historical significance to the site. There is no historical building on the site that we are aware of, unless there is one hidden somewhere. The existing structure was built in 1980 with a 2002 addition. Other than that, there's no other structures on the site of any significance. The scope of the project is to primarily just pulverize, repave, and terrace the existing landscaping to accommodate additional parking spaces. Again, as this is an FTA project, we had to go through and verify with each of the commissions that they have no objections. So what the Transit Authority is hoping from the commission is that they would concur with our findings and issue a letter to us that we could submit to the FTA, ensuring that we are not disturbing anything of historical significance.
Okay. I took a look through our Macris list on Water Street. This is right on the edges of the Leominster city boundary. And this is just on the south end of Fitchburg. And I did not find anything in this area. I don't believe there's any significance in my thoughts. And Don, Charles, Megan, your thoughts?
In full disclosure, I had done some due diligence on my own. The nearest historically significant site we have is about a 10th mile down the road, and it's an old power plant for the railroad. So I don't think my pavers will get anywhere near that.
Okay, I concur.
I don't have any problem with this at all. I mean,
Okay, it was just something that, I didn't want to unilaterally say, well, I don't think there's anything there.
yeah, I mean,
Just in case someone else did, I did a little bit of review with Macris. My knowledge of, I knew there was, the old jail site and so forth down by the potato chip factory at one time, but that's a little ways down the road from you. And not sure. I know that the rail trail is going just across Water Street, close to you there. And hopefully that MART is kind of maybe working with people on that or not. I don't know if it affects MART. The terminuses are probably close to your bus and train stations on either end of the rail trail, but there's no buildings on this, no historic quality we know. It could be an Indian burial ground, but we have no evidence of that or any other archaeological thing to our knowledge. To the best of our knowledge, there is nothing there.
Not that it matters, and I'm not concerned about it, but I was just curious, isn't that where the the trolley cars used to end years ago?
Yes, it is.
Either that or across the street?
Yeah, the original building that was here was at one point in time, obviously far before me, demolished. And the building that was put up in the 1980s took its place. I don't know specifically if it took its place exactly where it is, but it was in this general property, yes.
Yeah, so there's probably some trolley tracks underground. Not that I care, but I'm just, that'd be the only thing historical that I could think of, but
Right.
Yeah.
but I don't think there's anything else.
There's a pretty good slope on this site, I believe. Is that correct, Ryan? Or,
On the Carey Street side, so if I bring it back up, I can show you.
it might be hard to have tracks on something that steep, but
So on the Carey Street side, this is the area that's heavily sloped, which is why that parking lot's going to be a terrace with a lower, upper and middle level. But the back side of it is, relatively not too steep of a grade.
okay. Yep, good addition, Charles. Okay, so I propose a motion that we find that there's no significant historical, let me just read here, the project terrace remains the existing impervious. The place does not present any historical significance. No historic properties is what you're looking for in your wording, I guess.
So
that
this is,
correct?
FDA considers it a section 106, which is basically just verifying that we're not disturbing anything historical, environmental, wildlife. So all the authority is seeking from your commission is just a letter indicating that you've reviewed the property, you've reviewed the project, and you don't find any historical disturbances.
Okay. So I make that motion, we send that determination to the MART. Second and vote.
Second,
Third,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous. Thank you, Ryan, for your patience.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate it very much. Y'all have a good day.
Okay, and I should get something off to you in the next couple of days.
Very good. Thank you.
I'll
Thank
copy the
you,
commission.
Ryan.
on it.
Take
All
care.
right.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
I know Ryan from 100 years ago.
Oh, great.
I used to work at a gym a long time ago. I used to go there. So.
Great. All right. Getting back to the agenda, we skipped over items 1 and 2. Item 1 was the minutes from the October meeting. I don't believe we have those yet.
Those are from Ellen, correct? Because I did not attend that meeting.
Yes, and she was trying to handwrite those out and hasn't done it. And, so we will skip that. Approval of the minutes for November 18. Megan had sent out a copy yesterday, day before, I believe, or
Okay, yeah.
recently. And I just went through it this morning and made some recommendations that I sent out in an email earlier today with changes in red. I don't know if and any other. I would. These are recommended changes that I would suggest, and any other recollections or changes that.
Yeah, all your changes look appropriate, Keith.
Okay. Anybody want to take a moment, take a look at those?
My computer's slow right now, so.
wasn't at the last meeting, so I don't have anything to say about them.
All my kids are online, so, or both my kids are online, so I can't bring up anything. It's so slow. Oh, here we go. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry for saying April.
No problem, no problem.
Yeah, I agree with all these.
Okay, move to approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
Don, you approve?
I approve, yes.
Okay, all right. All right, I think so passed unanimous. Item number 5, proposed Fitchburg Historical Commission rules and regulations. We have kind of a draft of what we're thinking of doing, and what we ran into in the process was that we don't have at the moment proper documentation at Mass Historical Commission, or this is for the Monument Park Local Historic District. And we don't have the proper map documentation also recorded on the deed, being recorded with the Registry of Deeds at the time, 1975. And we are in the process of seeing if we can find that documentation and share that with Mass Historical, so that they agree that we are indeed, we have all the requirements for a local historic district. For that, our commission has dual responsibilities. We are a historical commission, and we're also a local historic district commission. So we need to finalize, part of our rules and regulations apply to the local historic district procedures for changes to buildings and or the park itself, that are things that are within the local district. So we need to know what the boundaries are and which buildings are in and out. And it's probably the original boundaries. In year 2000, there was an additional survey form that created an extended monument park district that kind of expanded on the National Register district. We're not sure if National Register has actually expanded it or not. We don't think so. So there's some clarification happening on this, and I hope to work with the city clerk to get some further documentation from the archives from City Hall on this. I talked with David Streb, who used to work in the planning and development. He retired a few years ago. And David remembers, he thought that it was certainly an established district, and he said the stuff should be in the city records. It's just a matter of getting the city clerk to dig deep for them. The city clerk our current city clerk has resigned, gone to a new position, and so we're working with a smaller staff right now. But I hope to, within the next few weeks or before the next meeting, to make some headway on that, finding documentation. So we will see. And so I'm suggesting we put off the rules and regs until we know what we're dealing with specifically. Although we can refine them some. And any questions on number 5? Number 6, update on the demolition delay ordinance draft.
I don't have anything. I've been out straight.
Okay, not a problem. Do you want some help on that, or do you?
Yeah, I mean, the last meeting I suggested, if anyone else wants to take it on, I've been incredibly busy and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. So if anyone else wants to, I know that there's already a draft out there. I was just gonna look at it and beef it up. But if you are okay with the current situation, or the current draft, or would like to add on to it, I wanted to do it. I'd love to do it, but I don't have time, so.
Okay.
Well, I'd be glad, Keith, I'd be glad to take it over and go through the same process as with the historic stone wall ordinance, send it out to various people, and get some feedback, so we're not springing it on them at a council meeting, city council meeting, and people react in a negative way. So that they have some forewarning and they have some input into it.
Okay, terrific. I think you have the copy of it. I'd be happy to maybe share some of your thoughts before you kind of send it out to us again. I think I'll be happy to work with you a little bit on it. Also, we had some thoughts on some other towns that had some refinements on the assessed value and kind of the waiting period, whatever, 6 months or 1 year, that finding you have to see if somebody else would buy the property at its assessed value before, and you have to have due diligence. It isn't just, it has to be through proper realty channels or whatever for something like that to happen. So maybe some of those things we can try to add into it before we put it out again. And again, sharing it with the building commissioner, community development, and not sure, probably planning board again. They might have be aware of projects going ahead where obviously buildings are being demolished and replaced with others, so they're aware of it and they can give us input how it might how we might work together with the other commissions. And we might even bring in Mark Barbadero, who's, I think when he visited us about 5 years ago, when he first came to Fitchburg, he had from what was it, Martha's Vineyard or Nantucket, where he was a building commissioner. He had a lot of experience with historic properties and districts, I believe, and demo delays, perhaps. So he might be able to give us some pointers on it also. So good. Thank you, Don, and I'll help you with that also, and we'll obviously share kind of with everybody. Update on the stone wall preservation ordinance draft.
Yeah, I sent it out. Got some almost an immediate response, next day response from Mark. And the, he started out saying, raised the question about enforceability, which is something that we discussed at our last meeting. And yeah, it's, as I responded, it's, if someone goes out in the middle of the night and dismantles their stone wall on their property, well, no, there's no enforceability for that. But the idea, as I think we decided, is the ordinance is to provide some guidelines. Highlight the fact that these stone walls are of historical, it's part of the historical heritage, not only of Fitchburg, but of New England in general. This is something special about New England. And to provide some guidelines for property owners, conscientious property owners who want to know, I have a stone wall, what do I do? As far as I know, the only ordinance that the city has concerns stone walls facing streets, or, you know, and it's rather, I looked at it and it's not very specific.
Yeah, it's the scenic roads thing, yeah.
Right. And what I think we want to do is point out that there are stone walls all over the place, just in Fitchburg. And what constitutes a historic stone wall? You know, we can debate the arbitrary date, 1930s or earlier, you know, but there are two very important exceptions to that date. One is the granite from Rollstone Quarry. We want to include was that is part specifically of the heritage of Fitchburg. The other is, and I don't want it to sound frivolous, but patina. Patina is very important on a stone wall. And I know there are people who want to clear off, you know, clean off the patina, you know, get it back to the, and then paint it, paint the stone walls. And this, okay, if they want to do that, you know, okay, the city can't enforce it, then not to do it. But city officials should know that there are guidelines in place. You don't want to clean off the patina. You don't want to paint it. If at all possible, you know, so I'm, you know, when I can understand city officials, when somebody like the Historical Commission comes up with an ordinance, like demolition delay ordinance, they're looking at, oh, this is going to restrict us. You know, it's going to take power away from us. And no, that's not the purpose. The purpose is to give you the tools, you city officials, the tools and guidelines. And if you want to go against the guidelines, fine. I mean, there's nothing that's obligatory in this ordinance as far as I can see. It's to assist city officials to make determinations in order to preserve the historical heritage of this very important feature of Fitchburg and of New England in general. So yeah, it's when Mark also raised the issue of adoption of a MGL C40C district, and I said, no, not unless you want to make all of Fitchburg MGL C40C district. I mean, it's a good question, but as far as stone walls are concerned, it's not. I don't think it applies in this case. Okay, the fee. Yes, I think we can amend the Stonewall ordinance that the fee be limited, as Mark suggested, to $300 a day, and put in specifically at the discretion of the commission or board or superintendent, because yeah, if somebody, it's not meant to be oppressive. It's not meant to oppress people. It's meant to raise awareness and have people work together to help preserve these. But if the city official or board or commission feels that something more needs to be done in terms of they've warned people or they've told people and it's not being done and there's real destruction going on, the city does need something that it can enforce this, give it a little bit of teeth. So yeah, speak softly, carry a big stick, keep the teeth hidden, work with the people, and then say, but if you don't do that, we have this big stick that we don't want to use. Okay. Differentiate retaining walls. I think it's on a case-by-case basis. You know, again, let's put the decision-making, the power in the hands of the relevant city commission, relevant city board. If they want to differentiate, fine. Structural work needed to be maintained, stability exempted. Yeah, if that's what the city official, I don't think that's something we want to put into the ordinance in terms of, because there are so many different situations with these stone walls. I don't think we can really categorize them. And any attempt, I think, to categorize them would be counterproductive, you know, because there's always exceptions to it. And so just leave it to the city officials. One thing that Tom Skorowski, one question he raised was he agrees protecting historic stone walls is worthwhile. And they extended the scenic roads in recent years. But he's right, it's only a small fraction. It's only a segment of the stone walls. And I go walking through the city. There are stone walls all over the place. Some of them could count as historic, others not. He suggested an inventory. I don't know how one would do an inventory of the stone walls. They're all over the place, you know, and you can say, okay, well, they're all over the place, therefore we don't need to be concerned about them. Well, yeah, people weren't concerned about the passage of history because they were all over the place until they went extinct.
Yeah.
No, this is the time to be concerned, to raise concerns, to provide some guidelines. And in the ordinance, if people want to know more about historic stone walls and what they are, their importance, their upkeep, Robert Thorson's book, Exploring Stone Walls. I mean, that's a very good manual for doing that. So, yeah, I don't think an inventory at this point. I think that would just delay any action on it. And in the end, it's just not feasible, I think, unless you hired some company to go out, you know, like with the survey of the of the buildings, which never got completed, by the way. We still have our surveys of the buildings in Fitchburg are still incomplete after what, 45 years? So,
Yeah. Ed, have you heard back from planning board at all?
no,
Okay. I have one thought. And I think of it as the, these proclamations or ordinances, and this, I'm thinking of it as the whereas, kind of starting out with it's the first paragraph, it's the purpose of the ordinance. And I think, Don, you kind of verbally said some of the highlights of the importance to New England and to the city. And maybe that purpose that you could put a little bit more reason. These are in kind of what you kind of verbally said and about the historic qualities of these things. And I think also because of, that is the kind of the boundary line, stone walls and structures of our, going back farther, back early 19th century or whatever, when a lot of these things were done, maybe some before that. But also the importance of the stone. I think we ought to include stone structures that would include, railroad bridges, like retaining walls along beside the railroad, like particularly along River Street. And I'm sure there's many other spots where there, or a High Street that's up behind the stable building, VF Brown, that stone retaining wall along High Street. If you've never seen that, it is a treasure. And actually on Mechanic Street, there's some also on the east side of Mechanic Street going up toward Ashby, in particularly the historic building area. Of the houses and things in there. There's a lot of stone structures there too. One of them collapsed a few years back, and we allowed them, or they came before us actually, I think for a reading on, they filled it in with big piles of gravel or something like that, and took a house down, I believe. But those, again, being able to rule on those somehow, and finding alternatives for changing, besides the boundary walls, also the stone structures that would include specifically stone structures from our Rollstone quarry. And I think there's a lot of added, a lot of stories about the quarry, and I think that would be a great project for the Historical Society or Pete perhaps to do, is to kind of highlight more, because it is such a rich physical piece of our history. The foundation of City Hall was done probably with quarried stone from there, and lots of other structures in the city, and retaining walls and all the probably the railroad structures, retaining walls and abutments and things like that we see daily. Are part of it. Maybe that whereas, or the purpose, kind of giving a little bit more pride in both the boundary and the quarry types of structures, that makes our city a lot different than Leominster or Worcester or whatever else, because we have this local quarry that was, brought down the hill and helped us build, probably the old stone mills and so forth that were here were all from that quarry, and some of the river abutments and things. Anyhow, I'd be happy to kind of review some stuff on that with you too, Don. If maybe the purpose, jacking that up a little bit and making it more specific to Fitchburg.
suggestions.
And answering the questions of saying, well, who's, why are these important? So, so good work. It's good we got some comments back. Maybe we can get a revised version out to the same group and get some more feedback. on how we'd like to do this. All right, any other comments on stone walls? Okay, update on Simon Saw, no change. Number 9, Historic Districts Information Brochure Map. Ellen, Don, and I met with our people from the university that were helping on this on Tuesday. It's coming together as a 12-paneled fold-out brochure. It's like 11 by 17 folded in half and then folded in thirds. So it has a front and back and ends up with a total of about 12 folded sections to it. I'm going to include a map of kind of the general downtown area from Warren Square up through the Upper Common and the Academy District. And we're getting information, the graphics is coming together. We still need some, we're including the Upper Common District, which has been applied for National Register designation. Although it hasn't been approved yet, we're calling it a historic area. And as it gets approved, we can change the brochure and republish it. And the same with the Academy District. And I've been waiting for Mark Dohan to share their National Register district that they're applying for the Academy District. And for some reason, he's dragging his feet, giving me that information. So I will follow up on that. This project will then lead on into the spring semester with another graphics class or students hoping to prepare signage for Main Street area for these specific sites and perhaps other historic areas. And QR codes. There's also, the rest of you might want to take a check on is a application for your iPhone and computer that's called The Clio, CLIO, THECLIO.com or org, I can't remember which it is. It is specifically for like nonprofits to post things about historical facts and interesting, primarily civically and nonprofit located types of things. The Art Museum already has, I think, about 5 outdoor artworks in downtown Fitchburg that are listed on this app. So there's little pinpoints, you click on it and it comes up on your screen that shows the immigrant statue, the corner of Pritchard and Maine, the wall paintings where the Johnsonia was, and across the river at Gamache Bicycle, the tribute to the river with Ms. Goddard's portrait on that across from the whatever it's called, Mill Park or
Riverfront Park.
Riverfront Park, thank you. And the statue at the Art Museum, I believe maybe the fountain in Upper Common, I'm not quite sure, and the statue in Monument Park itself. Historical Society also has some sites in it that they have, and we need to kind of coordinate with Susan Navarre and how we're kind of connecting with it. So the rest of you, if you want to take a look at the Clio, download the app and being able to kind of see it. So as we're kind of wrapping this up, the rest of the commissions may be aware of it. And it's a great tool, and being able to have this at people's, and perhaps obviously loading our sites, perhaps our districts or our historic areas, along with individual pieces, individual buildings and sites. Filling vacancy on the commission. I heard back from Pete Capadagli, and he is kind of swamped with other responsibilities at the moment, and said he's still kind of interested, but he doesn't have time at the moment. And I believe, Megan, you had recommended another real estate person.
I did. I talked to her, Tracy Sladen, and she's interested, but she doesn't have time right now. Like, I think after the new year she will, so I'll revisit with her at the first of the year.
Okay, it sounds good. We'd be good to get somebody on soon. Real estate person. Thinking of Peter would be somebody from the planning board. We already have Megan that's with the redevelopment authority that has her hand on a lot of things that are happening. So maybe you're kind of covering that in an indirect way, knowing what development's going on. So having that real estate person would be good, and good information going out to the real estate community through a representative, I think. So let us know what you hear from her. That'd be great.
Sure.
Any other suggestions from other members? Okay, so we will continue on that and see if we can get someone from the real estate community. Number 11, January is election of officers for the Historical Commission. It's a yearly election. So be thinking of what you would like to, how you'd like to participate. And we are kind of shorthanded, so all are welcome to any job opening you would like. Number 12 was a Mass Historical Commission set out in the listserv many workshops that are scheduled for this spring or late winter, spring, that the Mass Historical is happening. They're both, I think they are all Zoom or on computer meet type of things. And you can register for those. I think they're all free. You can register for those to actually attend the Zoom conference, or register to receive the recording from the Zoom conference. So you're able to listen to it at your own, or they can, I think you could probably get it both ways too. You could participate, ask questions, or just be able to zoom in on them. And I think they're all the way from, I can't remember what they are. I will try to resend out that link to everybody. If you can't find it, I believe it was November 30th. Jen Doherty, the kind of circuit writer for Mass Historical. She's been working hard, and I've been working with her about finding, getting the documentation for the historic district. She's gone through, when she's been in the office in Boston, she's gone through all of their records, digging deeply, trying to find our map and stuff, and she hasn't found it yet. So she's helping us a lot. And I think she's come up with some good workshops and good formats for us to take advantage of, even listening to the recording. So sign up for those if you can. They should be quite rewarding, I believe. Number 13, MPPF round 28, Massachusetts Preservation Projects Fund. A deadline, I believe, of March or something like that for some funding. And any new business? Yes, Megan.
I just wanted to invite you all to the FRA is having an urban renewal plan public meeting. We're updating it for the next 20 years. And we're having a public meeting. It will be hybrid, so you'll be able to zoom in or watch on FATV on June 5th, or you can be there in person. We'll be in the legislative building. And our consultant from the BSC group will be presenting on where we've come up, what we've come up with so far, and she'll take any public comment at that time. It's not an official meeting where things are going to be determined or solidified. It's just to garner some information from the public. So I would love to have you all there.
Good. What's the date on that again?
It's January 5th at 5:30 p.m. in the legislative building.
Okay, if you could maybe send a link to everybody in the commission?
Yes, I will. Once I get it from Nate Glennie from IPTV, I will send it to you.
Terrific, thank you.
Mhm.
That'd be great.
It will be on FATV as well, and then they'll have subsequent broadcast, like rebroadcasts of it. So if you miss it, you can watch it there too.
Okay, great. I see that the North Street project is officially going ahead.
Yeah, we
The-
sold it about 2 months ago. We sold the property to the developer, and so he's moving forward with that. He's already got it all permitted. So when he breaks ground is yet to be determined. I think, come springtime, he'll start.
That's great. That's a big project. So.
Mhm.
When I was talking with Ellen a couple of days ago, she was talking with one of the people on the Cultural Commission. I can't think of her name. And the site where the used to be an IC credit union, I believe, on the corner of Snow and Main Street, right where Water Street comes, across the bridge. And if you cross over Main Street and you go onto Snow Street to your right across from where there's a barber shop on Snow Street, I
Oh, the
believe.
corner of Day and Main?
Is it Day Street? Yes, it's Day Street, not Snow Street. Yes.
Mhm.
That's not
Wasn't
redevelopment.
our property, but it's the same developer that bought ours behind. Yes.
Okay. Do you think, any news? Do you think they would develop on that soon, or probably not with the 150 or whatever it is apartments going in up there?
I'm sorry, Keith, you're breaking up.
Do you think that would slow the development of that Day Street property because of the number of units going in on North Street?
I missed half of that conversation. I'm so sorry. It broke up a little bit.
I'm wondering, is it saturating that end of town with apartments that probably no development on the Main and Day Street property? I think Megan, you're frozen, maybe.
Oh, well.
Oh, well, yeah.
Question.
Yeah, we'll catch up. There was not a historical commission, just some development types of thing. I noticed that they're moving ahead on the furniture building and the site there. So that is a tax credit historic development up at Warren Square. That looks great. They're moving ahead with those buildings.
Keith,
So
whatever happened with the property in front of the plumbing supply place for the rail trail? Remember with the property that was given up?
I know Planning and Development is aware of a recommendation to do, or my recommendation to the Planning and Development Office, Community Development Office, that if they come up with a good terminus, and I haven't heard any progress. I think that end, the terminus, the Fitchburg terminus, is still in the design phase, and I haven't heard anything from Tom on it.
Okay.
But that's right nearby, and I could, the development of the plumbing building certainly would be happening soon, maybe. But there's a lot of housing going in, and I don't know if there's some point in time that we'll hit a saturation point where indeed everybody's moving to Fitchburg, or not sure. Lots of units taking, like Ivor Johnson, the furniture building, which is 50 some units. I think Ivor Johnson was 50 some units. The North Street property, as I can't remember, it was like 150 units. So that's a couple hundred new housing units in town just with those, which is great. And keep the price down perhaps.
150.
You're a little bit frozen there, Megan, on our end. Kids have taken your bandwidth. Any other new business? Others?
Keith, I've missed several meetings, so I'm not sure if this was ever discussed or anything, but a while back, Ellen and I had discussed with the board having the Northern Worcester County Superior Courthouse suggested for the nomination for most endangered places. And we were going to do that application. I guess they do it every other year, and last year was a skip year. Was that something that was still on the radar to do, or did we just, or was it decided not to do that?
I think it could be appropriate. And Don, do you think you would back that too?
I will definitely back that, yes.
Yeah, I only brought it up because like I said, I missed some meetings, and I just thought that maybe maybe there was a reason that we weren't going to do it. Maybe the building was sold. I wasn't sure what the status was.
I missed the conversation, Charles. I got booted off.
Oh, no, it was nothing. I was just bringing up a while back, Ellen and I were considering filling out an application to have the Northern Worcester County Courthouse nominated as a most endangered historic place. They do it every other year, and last year was an off year. So if we were going to do that, it would be the application. I'm going to guess, I haven't been on their site in a while, but I'm guessing that it would be due this summer or fall. It used to be on our agenda for a while, and then, you know, with just not really being able to get together with Ellen in person, we never got together to fill out the application. And I was just wondering if there was any update on the status of that building. Maybe it's not necessary to do it. Maybe there's plans for it, or if that's something that we should still consider. I've been out of the loop for a while, so I was just kind of asking.
I don't know where the city is at with that. I know the city and DCAM are working together to sell that property, but I don't know if it's an RFP. I don't know if it's going to be an auction. I don't have any idea.
Yeah. I'll ask Ellen about it. I haven't spoken to Ellen in quite some time either. Is she okay? I didn't know why she wasn't here today.
I talked to her today. She asked me for a ride to come to the meeting, but I had to come home for my kids, so I wasn't able to bring her. She's fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She doesn't do Zoom?
Well, her computer's broken and she hasn't gotten a new one yet. That's her goal, is to get a new one.
Okay. Just making sure she's not sick.
Megan, as far as the courthouse, I thought at one time the city, it was going to be, or the intent process was that the state was going to deed it to the city, and then the city is going to deed it to your redevelopment authority? No?
No, that's been off the table for quite some time.
Okay.
They want, so DCAM is having the city act as the agent to sell it, and then all the proceeds will go back to DCAM. But in the way that they sell it, I'm not sure, and I don't know their timeline.
So I'm wondering, we could nominate it to
Do it anyway.
Preservation Mass. I'm not sure if this is something we would want to run by Tom Swirowski or not, thinking that we're stepping on his toes, or would he be the one that would be running the RFP on it?
Yes.
What community development? I would think so.
Mhm.
Would he feel affronted that we did this as a sister organization within city government? Should we, I think it's a good idea, just to bring attention to it. But I think just to stay on cooperative terms with another city agency, that we should get their blessing on that, is a suggestion. Since we're trying to get Tom to, one, his office should be giving us some clerical help at times, even more help. Most cities have their planning and development office that supports the historical commission with clerks and so forth and files. And I would, I'm just thinking out loud that this is something that would be good to coordinate with, letting them know that we are doing this as a city. An individual could do this, but we're doing this as an arm of the city of Fitchburg, nominating it. So in our official capacity, letting the rest of the city know that we're doing this, and knowing that the city is going to be handling it, where kind of one arm is saying this and the other arm is saying that. So I just want to politically have a unified front on this.
What's his last name again? How do you spell it?
Tom?
Yeah, it's spelled SKWIERAWSKI.
And what's the department again that he's in?
It's
Planning and community development.
Say that again, please, Megan.
Planning and community development.
Do you have a relationship with him to be able to just kind of say something off to the side, or?
Yeah,
All right. I mean, I know you got a lot to do already. I don't want to get, I mean, if I can make a phone call, I will, but I don't know him.
I don't mind. I just, yeah, if everyone's okay with that. I mean, I meet with him often, so.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I mean,
That'd be
yeah, I
great.
just want to mention that that's on our radar to do.
Sure.
Commission and see what his feedback is. If he thinks, if he's got something in the works for that building, I don't want to go nominate it for something and then have it like what Keith was saying, you know? So,
Charles, could you check with Preservation Mass and see what the deadlines for the application are, and just send that out to everybody so we're aware?
yeah. I'll do that. I can do
Okay.
that.
Just so that we have a time frame that we want to talk with Tom about it and finish the application. It's similar to what we did with City Hall back 10 years ago or whatever. So
Yeah, and yeah, and absolutely. Even though we didn't have the mayor's blessing at that time, I don't think. I don't
yeah,
think-
and you know, I don't know if we were stepping on toes or not. Then we didn't even realize it. We
Well,
just said, "Oh,
she
we're
had
gonna
no
do
plans apparently.
it." Yes,
Years later,
And-
she had no
and,
plans on ever redoing that building, so I don't think she was too thrilled that we did that, but oh
yeah.
well,
Well, we should have been lobbying her also at the same time. So
yeah.
educating her.
But yeah, anyway, and I just wanted to also, while I just was talking to you, I apologize that I can't be more involved. My job has changed and I'm still doing photography, but I've got like a minor promotion at it's photography related company that I work for. And I just have a lot of office work to do on top of and I know you were asking me to come up with a time that might work better for me with meetings. And to be honest with you, you could pick any time and they're all equally not good because my schedule's not consistent. I don't have a 9-to-5 job. So I apologize when I'm absent for a while. I try to be here when I can.
No, we're glad you could make it.
Yeah, thanks.
Congratulations on your promotion.
Well, thanks. You know, it's more work, same money, but you
You get a title, yeah, okay.
know, but I got a better title, yeah. So
Yeah. I like retired.
you're completely done right now, Keith?
I am
Like
completely
100%.
done. Yeah, I think my brain is completely done also, but other than that.
But I am concerned for the commission when, because I know that you and Ellen were both considering stepping down at some point, not in the not too distant future, if I remember correctly. And I don't think we really have anybody that's going to be able to fill your shoes. So yeah, so getting some new blood into here is should be a priority for us.
Yeah. I'd like to thank Don for being the in-person going down to City Hall and setting these up for the last several meetings. I really appreciate it, Don. You're doing that. My wife Barbara and I are
It's a
really-
5-minute drive from my house, so it's no big deal.
Yeah. You know, we're in my case, I'm kind of off the chart here, not living in Fitchburg. And also my wife and I are really trying to not be exposed to kind of pandemic types of things. We're being extremely careful, maybe a lot more than other people. And we appreciate it's an inconvenience to you guys. I can't really get to City Hall and stuff to help do some of these things or meeting in person with things. So I'm kind of self-restricted
On the side of caution. Please err on the side of caution.
Yeah. But again, thank you, Don. And, I will probably stay on for another year on the commission, but we have a lot of work to do and we'll continue on with it. And any other new business? Otherwise, we'll be meeting January 27th.
I just want to throw it out there real quick before I did look up the Preservation Mass Most Endangered Program, and it doesn't really look like they have the resources to do this as they traditionally have in the past. So it looks like there's continuing to run it, but just kind of like without as much resources to do the research and put the presentations together that they did. So I'm not so sure that this is even something that we can do anymore. So, it doesn't look, I don't know if I can't tell, how their website's kind of clunky. But I can't even tell if you can even make an application anymore. It seems like maybe because of COVID or something, maybe they're.
If you, Charles, just to kind of help us out, could you make a call to them sometime just to verify what you think their schedule is? And
Yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Email out your findings on it?
I will, I'll do that.
Okay, and that'll give us Megan an idea and direction if it is indeed planned on happening soon. And maybe if you can find out from Tom if he has plans of how they would handle it, if the transfer, if and when, and as we do our rules and regulations and we get kind of finalized on the district and how to offer certificates of appropriateness will be a vital arm in the process for the developer to our review will be the local review of the development process. So I want to make sure the district is actually happening and is real, and that we have some rules and regulations before these things actually happen. And we'll want Tom's review on those rules and regs also, probably just for coherency and going forward. Okay. I think that's it. Anything else?
No. When's the next meeting?
January 27th. It's the last Thursday at 3 o'clock.
Did you talk about the Monument Park railings at all? I know I saw your great emails, your correspondence that you had regarding that. Was there any?
I've resent the information to Nate, trying to work up some coordination. Thank you for reminding me on that. I haven't heard back from Nate on that. I gave him the drawings and the specs and things, and saying we'd like to work jointly with them because it's probably going to be coming out of their budget or working their budget for some of the funding on it. And since it's, it's really their property and our property to oversee. So again, trying to work a little bit more where we're coordinating with other branches of the city government. Anyhow, that's one way I think we should approach the Monument Park. And I will make a note to follow up with Nate probably early January, so I have an update on, I'll add that back to the agenda.
Yeah, because I noticed you had a very thoughtful email that you had written out, but I didn't see a response back afterwards. So I just wanted to, maybe you got lost or something. I don't know.
I will add railings to January agenda. It's been bouncing around for years, so we're just not getting anything done on it, and that's a problem. So,
Well, I think that if we had the castings for the iron, I think this probably would have moved forward quicker, but without those, I think people are just maybe dragging their feet at this point.
he seemed to think when he was with us in August or September or whenever it was that they still had the molds.
Yeah, I don't
Maybe
know.
it was June. It was June, I think,
I've been
actually.
hearing that for years, and nobody's.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a different department from DPW, I think.
Oh, okay.
And so they might have them and DPW didn't have them, and they might be in the bottom of the armory building or something.
Oh.
It seems as though I heard him say that, so I don't know. I know there's a big basement under there, so there could be anything stored down there.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Good to see everybody. Happy holidays.